Okay, so we're doing section 1.7, had all kinds of technical difficulties. I apologize, you're only going to get a part of the lesson here, but a typical question has area in terms of circumference, for example. And we need to understand that that means they want the area and they want to see in the answer. Okay, area in terms of circumference. So I want you to always start by drawing a picture. Once you've got the picture labeled, I want you to write down equations. Like these equations that pertain to the circle, like c equals 2 pi r, like area equals pi r squared. And then I noticed that this formula is pretty much the same as this formula. It's just they wanted a c in the answer. And right now it's got an r in the answer. So I need to get that r out of there and replace it with something smart. So that's where we were when we got interrupted last time. We're trying to record this. So I'm trying to put something in that blank that was an r. If I go over here, this little equation hasn't been used yet. That's kind of a way to help yourself and go, okay, I now know that I have to use this equation to do this part. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have needed that equation. And if you just solve that equation for r, divide by 2 pi, divide by 2 pi, hopefully you'll see r equals c over 2 pi. That means I can put c over 2 pi in here. And there we go. There's your equation. It has a c in it. It has a pi in it also, which bothers some people, but pi is just a number. It's not a variable. It's okay to have pi in with any other variable. It's fine. So there's your final answer, except we'd have to actually multiply that out. So I want you to take this part right here, go down your screen a little ways, and just take that and see if you can simplify that correctly. That's going to be half the problems I mark wrong on the test are going to be from people who got everything right and then simplified it wrong. So take this formula, I put eternal boxes around here, and please try to simplify it down all the way. Maybe it simplifies down all the way to a equals c squared. I don't know. Figure out what you think it is. That's where it was, pi, a equals pi r squared, and then we replace the r, which used to be in here, with a c over 2 pi, right? Now, what would happen first in the order of operations? Parentheses. Is there anything I can do inside the parentheses? No, there's c over 2 pi. I can't simplify that at all. There's no canceling I can do or anything. So then you go to exponents. Is there an exponent to be done? Yes, so that gets done next. Anybody who canceled the pi's and just said, oh, I'm going to cancel those 2 pi's because there's 2 pi's in the problem. Can't do that. You got to do the order of operations. So this squaring has to be first. So you have c squared over, here's a common mistake, 2 pi squared. What'd I do wrong? Yeah, that 2. This 2 here is getting squared along with everything else. So that's c squared over 4 pi squared. See, everything got squared. The pi got squared, the 2 got squared, and the c got squared. And then the pi in front of it was like this. Is that 1 over pi or pi over 1? Pi over 1, and fractions play nice with other fractions. Now I've got a fraction situation. Now I can tell what's going to cancel. Will that pi cancel one of those other pi's? Yes, it will. So I can go cancel this pi and cancel one of these 2 pi's that's really a pi times a pi. Okay, so then that gets the squared off of there. That and that cancel. So c squared over 1 times 4, as I'm multiplying across the bottom. 1 times 4 is 4, of course, so 4 pi. And there's my answer. A equals c squared over 4 pi. What did I ask for originally? I asked for the area in terms of the circumference. And I've got it. All right. Next one I want you to try. Give me the perimeter in terms of the length and you'll need to know a little bit more. My rectangle that I'm dealing with here has a length and the width is half of the length. and I wanted the perimeter in terms of the length. You remember me saying how I recommend you write at the bottom that you have a P equals perimeter in terms of, means P equals, and then you want a length in your answer. There better be an L, only an L. It can be have other numbers, but it can't have other letters in the answer. So then I suggested that you draw and label your shape. Mr. D in the back row, what did you say for L, and then what's the other side here? No, because the width is half of the length. So you can do, yes, 1/2 L. Very good. You do not want to try to use 2 different letters on your shape unless you absolutely have to. Yes? I get what you're saying, but no. Because I want this in terms of the length needs to be pure. It needs to be just L. You got to start with just an L for the length, because if I want this in terms of the length, if I go like this, then I'm going to be cutting my L down to half as big as it's really supposed to be. All right, since I knew length was the thing I wanted, I want to make length be just an L. The other side is 1/2 L. Okay, now I've got a picture drawn and labeled. Next thing I said in the process. After you get your picture done, what do you make? Some equations, okay? So give some equations that seem to be involved here. Mr. I, Mr. Newton. P equals 2L plus 2W. Excellent. Okay. And what's the problem with that? Why can't I just give this as my answer? Because it's not in terms of L. It's in terms of L and W. So if I could get that W out of there, which I can, I'll have it. P equals 2L plus 2. Got to replace the W with, what is the W? 1/2 L. And therefore, final answer is to simplify that all down. P equals, remember, half the error is in the simplifying part. 2L plus 2 times 1/2. Can I do that? Yeah, I can. 2 times 1/2 is 1. So 2L plus 1L makes 3L. There we go. How many of you had that before I got there? Okay, good. It's a good time. Now, I'd like to do a couple from your actual worksheet. So everybody find 1.7 worksheet. I already assigned that you do 1 through 21. The next step is to do 22 through 34. Okay, so tonight's homework is 22 through 34. I'll pause for a second while I put that up on the screen. Okay, here, let's start with number 22. Number 22, it's the first one of the new homework. Mr. L, would you do the honors of telling me, well, how about you just read it to me and I'll start writing down important stuff. Number 22. Stop. How do I start? No. Draw a picture. Okay. I need to process, otherwise there's too many parts. If I don't have a system for this, I will never remember this on the test. Okay, now I draw my rectangle, I'm supposed to label it. Do I know anything yet? The perimeter rectangles, who's, okay, now read some more. Aha. Notice it wants the perimeter in terms of width. Right at the bottom, put this. P equals some answer in terms of L. No, well, not L, W. In terms of the width. I know, this is kind of obscure, but I had so many kids that didn't really know what they were trying to find. And if you get this, you want P equals something, you'll notice when you write down that equation that you're actually really close to having the answer. All right, so now, we got to label our picture. 6 more than twice the width. Notice it says it wants the width in the answer. That is really important to note, because do you get, I could either call this L, and then make this like 1/2 L or something, or I could make this W and make this like 2W or something like that. I have to pick which one to be, like, make a nice pure variable. We usually use width. In this case, it says in terms of the width. That means I'm going to choose this side to be W. Then the other side, I hope you noticed already, is 6 more than twice the width. Here's twice the width. Here's 6 more than twice the width. There we go. How many of you already had that? Awesome. Now I need to get to the final answer. I need a formula. Perimeter equals 2 lengths plus 2 widths. And why can't I just give that formula as it is? Because it's got length and width. And I only want width. So instead, I'm going to say perimeter equals 2, and then I'm going to get that length out of there, plus 2 widths. And the length is actually this right here, 2w plus 6. And then if you can multiply that all out and simplify it, you'll have it. All right, some steps in the process. We made a picture. We figured out exactly what we wanted. We wanted an answer that had a w in it. And then we knew we needed this pure formula, the p formula. Otherwise, can't get the answer unless we have a p equals formula. All right, let's go on to 24. The area of a circle in terms of the diameter. Ooh, that's a lot like the one we just did a minute ago. I want you to try this one without any of my help. Start by drawing the picture, then label the picture. But remember, you better not label the picture with an R. You should label the picture with a D. And then you should write your formula down. And then you should write the end of it, which is area in terms of, it's got some answer with a D in it. This is a really key step. Know what you're looking for. All right, I'm going to pause for a second while you try that. Okay, some thoughts. You should have probably drawn a circle, and you could have labeled it with an R, but then you would have kind of missed the point. We wanted this to be a diameter, right? So maybe you should label this whole thing as D. Raise your hand if you had that part. Okay, good. Next part. Did you have the area formula for a circle? Area equals pi r squared. Yeah? Okay, good. What's wrong with that answer? Why can't I just use that? That's an area formula. It's not in terms of D. It's in terms of what? R. So I got to get the R out of there. A equals pi and get that out of there. And I can't just put in a D. Otherwise, I'd be saying R is equal to D. So I guess I need to know what R is equal to. R would be equal to what? Half of the diameter, 1/2 D. Now, if that just doesn't come to you naturally, you can write out a formula that's diameter is 2 R's, and then solve it for R. It would be D divided by 2, which is the same as 1/2 D. Okay? So then that tells me what to put in here. The R is 1/2 D. And then do you have to actually multiply it out? Yes, you do. Half the mistakes are made right there. So then here's your mistake possibility. Pi times 1/2 squared. What is it? 1/2 squared. 1/4. D squared is D squared. There we go. And now if I can just put that all together, usually they say it like this. Pi times D squared divided by 4. If you had put 1/4 in front and said 1/4 pi D squared, that would have been okay too. All right. You know these are a little weird. It's all about the wording. But they always have these elements. They have a picture. They have the pure form of the formula. You've got to figure out what answer you're looking for. And if you want to come up and ask me for help today, I'm not going to help you if you have a blank piece of paper. But you need to start by drawing me a picture. You need to write down an important formula. And you need to, at the end, say, I know I'm looking for A equals blah, blah, blah with a D in it. You got to know that much. Anybody can do that. And if you get stuck and you need a hint in between, I'll help you. Questions so far? There's a hand. Yes? All of the formulas I have cited so far are formulas you are expected to have memorized. Yes, like P equals 2L plus 2W. You got to know that one for sure. You got to know the area formulas for rectangles and circles. All this stuff around circles. D equals 2 pi. Here's another one that comes up a lot. C equals 2 pi. No, it's not. 2 pi R or pi D. That's another formula you have to know. Triangle formula. Base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height. But yeah, there's a lot of little formulas. We aren't going to ask you to pull out like the distance formula or anything really nasty. Square root of quantity x2 minus x1 squared plus blah, 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 blah. We're not going to make you do anything really complicated like that. In fact, I might have even said one of the signs wrong in that. So anyway, the point is you won't have any nasty formulas, but you got some basic ones. All right, and how far are you supposed to go? It's 22 through 34. Now there's some real doozies after that, but let's go near the end of our little set here and go to like 32 and see what they're getting into by then. A rectangle is inscribed. Do you know what that means? It's kind of like inside. Inscribed in a circle. So here's my circle. Here's my rectangle. Inscribed means it touches it every place that it can. There we go. There's a rectangle inscribed in a circle. It has diameter of 12. Now here's the really important thing on labeling this one. Do you get that if you go from here to here, that it doesn't match up nicely with your rectangle? And yet that is where a diameter often goes. Diameters go like this, and it doesn't match up with the rectangle nicely. If you're looking at this, just turn your head 45 degrees. And do you see where I should put it? Ah, some of you got it. All right. Right there. Now it matches up perfectly with both the circle and the inscribed thing. The rectangle in this case. Could be a square next time. Why does it matter? Because now you have the hypotenuse of a triangle that has this side and this side in it. And so now it's going to, that like is a really important little piece. All right. So I don't need those. Okay. Rectangle is inscribed in a circle of diameter 12. That red line right there, that red line is 12. 12 inches, I guess. Express the area of the rectangle as a function of its width. Again, if you were going to come up and ask me for help, here's things I'd want you to do. I'd want you to know at the end, I want A equals what? Something with a what in it. Something with a W in it. Okay, then I got to write a pure form of a formula. Only logical to start with the A formula. A equals what on a circle? Area equals pi r squared. And what's wrong with that? Why can't I just use that? Because it has an R in it, and I want it to have a what? A W in it. Ooh. Okay. Area of the rectangle is a function of that implies the rectangle's width. That means this part right here. That's this part right here. That's the rectangle's width. You're right. That width versus length on a rectangle is kind of nebulous because you actually can pick either one to be the width or the length. We just usually pick the other one. So I agree with you. I think it'd be better if I label the other side of it to be W, because most people would say the smaller side is W. So the inside right here, let's make that one W. Okay. Now, again, it's as simple as I got to replace my R with something. But if I just might replace my R with like a number like 6, I will have found the area of my circle, and that's not what they wanted. They wanted the circle as a function of W. So I can't just stick a W in here unless the radius was equal to W. So to figure out what to put in here, I need some other equation. What's another equation that I can somehow use to get R equals something so that I can put this in without an R that'll relate R and W together? I haven't done any equations that have to do with my rectangle or my triangle. Are there any equations that have to do with especially the triangle? Hint, hint. All right. A squared plus B squared equals C squared is true. Or the area of the triangle would also be true. I could find the area of the triangle, or I could find A squared plus B squared equals C squared. All right. I'm going to probably go with A squared plus B squared equals C squared. because somehow I just need to figure out this last side right here to be able to make these all relate together. These are not easy. All right, so if the hypotenuse is 12, if these two sides were equal to each other, if this was just W, that'd be awesome, but it's not quite that simple. So, I have decided that I was doing something wrong, and I asked kids, and one of them figured out that the thing I was doing wrong was, it says express the area of the rectangle, not the area of the circle. Even though this is a true formula, it's not going to help me. I wanted the area of a rectangle, so I should have been using this formula, area equals length times width. And now what's wrong with the formula? It's got an L in it. I need to get the L out of there. And now I'm going to replace the L with something. So how can I get the length? If I use this as L and this as W, here's L, here's W, A squared plus B squared will equal C squared, and that means W squared plus L squared will equal 12 squared. Now I just need to get my L alone, because remember how I had to replace L? This was an L in here, L equals something. I got to get this solved for L. So I'm going to go L squared equals 12, which squared is 144, minus W squared. I'm getting close. Now I got to square root both sides. L equals square root of 144 minus W squared. And technically there's a plus and a minus, but do you get length can't be negative? And therefore I'm ruling that out. Okay. This was tough. What? Nope, because I know you're thinking, I know the square root of 144, it's 12. And I know the square root of W, it's W. The answer can't be 12 minus W. You can't simplify square roots like that. It's one of the prime things you don't ever want to do. People think the answer to that is x minus 2, for instance. It's not. You can't do that. Same idea as you can't just take two things like this and say, oh, that's x squared plus 4 squared. Just like you can't do this, x squared and 4 squared. It doesn't work, right? We learned that. Do we get the middle term to deal with? Same deal. There's a middle term to deal with. So you can't just take the square root of that. This is not equal to x minus 2. Don't do that. So same idea. You cannot simplify this and say, oh, that's 12 minus w. No, can't do that. All right. So that was a lot of work. But now I know that L is equal to all that, so I can take this L right here and replace it with all this. Square root of 144 minus w squared. All right. Whew, that was nasty. But how do I know I'm right? In the end, they wanted the area of the rectangle, A, as a function of its width. It only has w's in the formula. So that's how you know you're done, is if you've got the area. Can you shut that door, please? Thank you. If you've got the area in terms of just w's, then you must have done it right. And I got confused for a while because I was thinking it was all about the circle because they led off with the whole circle thing, but it really wasn't. It was really all about the area of the rectangle inside the circle. All right. So I want to give you a bunch of time to work, and the only way that happens is if I stop now. So I will be doing more of these for practice for you on Monday. But this is the time, this is like one of those moments where when the going gets tough, the tough get going. If you decide during this weekend that, okay, these are really hard, and I don't get these four, and so I'm just going to wait and learn it later. You will not probably learn it later. You got to dig in and do your best to figure them out yourself this weekend. If you don't try when this is really hard and the hard test comes along, because you had the easy test. Graphing was the easy test. One of my classes had a 94% average. Okay, that was pretty easy. So now you get to have the hard test that makes it actually pre-calc level. Okay, so you might get an average of C on this test, so that when you had the A on the other test, it averages to a B. So don't be too shocked if we get a lot of people with C's in this one. But if you want to be that kid that still has the A at the end instead of the B, the average of the two, if you want the A, you got to work hard when it gets hard. Okay? So don't give in to just, oh, I don't get it, I'm giving up. Use some of the strategies I showed you. Draw the picture, label the picture, write down every formula you can think of. Write down that the answer has to equal, like A equals something with a D in it. And then use all those strategies to try to work through it and come up with an answer. I promise you, we won't give you anything on a test that's impossible. All of them are doable by normal kids just like you. Whether or not you will be good enough to get them all right depends a lot on whether you try hard right now. Okay. This is the hard part. The really, really hard part doesn't happen until January, but this is the hard part for now. Actually, December's not real fun either. But, okay.